Conservative commentator Tim Pool wants nothing more than for a second civil war to break out in America. A quick examination of his timeline that was done by Chuds of TikTok on Twitter shows the following. Over and over and over again, Tim Pool talks about civil war. For example, you are in a civil war. Are we really, Tim? Civil war. One time he just said civil war, and that was it. Okay. He said it all depends on what happens next, but should this escalate, then history will regard everything happening now as the second civil war period. You are in a civil war back in August. You are in a civil war back in July. And then he says in June, 5 years ago, I was worried that rising tribalism and political street fights could be a precursor to civil war. We are now at the president has arrested his political rival phase, suggesting that this is a precursor to civil war. You can see on this image on your screen the many, many times that he has talked about it. But here's one of the things that I like most about Grok on Twitter. That particular artificial intelligence platform is able to scan all of Twitter and to do an analysis of an individual's timeline. And so what I did was I put Grok to the test to examine the usage of the rhetoric and the framing of Tim Pool suggesting over and over again that we're either in or headed into a civil war. And this is what Grok found. Number one, Tim Pool's ex-posts about civil war have increased in frequency over time with high engagement from users. Tim Pool's ex-posts about civil war contribute to the polarization of opinions on the platform as users engage in heated debates about the likelihood and consequences of such an event. And they gave a hypothesis as to why. It says Tim Pool's ex-post about civil war may contribute to increased polarization and likelihood of a second American Civil War due to their frequency and high engagement of or with these posts. In other words, some of his most popular posts are about the second Civil War. And so as he continues to engage in this conversation about the possibility of a second Civil War, he is creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. He is encouraging it with this rhetoric. Whether he's trying to do it directly or indirectly, the result, because of the increased engagement, is this is all Tim Pool talks about. But that was just the first part of the analysis that Grok did. The second level of analysis found this. Tim Pool's ex-posts about civil war often reference political events and controversies, using alarmist language and external sources to support his claims. Tim Pool's ex-posts about civil war may contribute to the polarization of opinions by presenting a one-sided view of events and using alarmist language to elicit strong reactions from users. Because you do realize that if he doesn't use that type of rhetoric, then he wouldn't get the likes and the retweets that he gets. Continuing on, Grok said the following, quote, Tim Pool's ex-posts about civil war may contribute to increased polarization and the likelihood of a second civil war by presenting a one-sided view of events and using provocative language to elicit strong reactions from users. I mean, isn't that the point, right? That's the entire MO of the conservative echo chamber, right? It's to feed them red meat. And the more red meat that they feed them, the better they perform. But in this case, Tim Pool's particular red meat is talk of a second civil war, insisting that we're already in it and telling people that they need to prepare for it. The bottom line is this: Tim Pool wants a second civil war. That's all he talks about. That's what he's pushing for. And the funny thing about it is that Tim Pool is not the kind of guy who actually is going to show up and be on the front line of a civil war. He's the type of guy who would monetize the possibility of a civil war before it happens. And like some of the political commentators in Ukraine who supported Vladimir Putin, similarly, they use their platforms to create the narrative of the invasion, to create and support the narrative of Vladimir Putin. And when Vladimir Putin finally invaded, they just skipped town and went to Russia. I wonder where Tim Pool will go after he is successful at inciting a second civil war. One last thing, Elon Musk has given Grok a serious mode and a sarcastic mode. So I switched back to the sarcastic mode and asked Grok to roast Tim Pool and his fetish for a second civil war. Grok said the following, quote, oh boy, Tim Civil War Pool, the guy who wants a war so bad he's practically begging for it like a kid on Christmas Eve. I mean, come on, Tim. You've mentioned it more times than a broken record on the chorus of a terrible song. It's like you're trying to manifest a war through sheer force of will and repetition. Maybe you should change your name to Tim, War is a Coming Pool, just to really hammer the point home. But hey, keep talking about it, Tim. I'm sure the war will start any day now, just like that check from the Nigerian prince you've been waiting for. Now, Grok isn't going to win any awards for its comedy, but one thing is clear. It was able to discern the fact that Tim Pool wants nothing more than a second civil war, and you have to ask yourself the question of why. And then you also have to assert this. Tim has no responsibilities in life. No family, no kids. His family doesn't even like him. I'm sorry. Wait. No, this stuff. Okay. He has no family. He has no wife. He has no kids. He has no responsibility to anything other than his skate park. So to me, anyone who has no responsibilities in life and no children, instigating a second civil war needs to be the first ones on the front line. And he should make sure that he wears that beanie so we could easily, or they can easily recognize him as being the man who instigated through his rhetoric and his platform, the Second American Civil War.
You want to know why I fucking wear the hat? Yeah. So these motherfuckers can't fucking recognize me when I'm on the street. You want to take a picture of me so that I'm easily identifiable? There's no photos of me without this. You came and you